Community Food Bank, we love the term food for thought, not just because food is one of the main centers of our mission here at the food bank, but we're really thoughtful about the way that we distribute it and serve the community. So today, we're going to give you some food for thought on a topic that you might have heard about before, but it's one we're really passionate about here at the food bank. It's called EDI. Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And here to give us some food for thought is Godfrey Bethea. And Godfrey, tell me a little bit about your title and your job here at the food bank.
Yeah, well, thank you, Christy. I am the Vice President of Equity, People, and Culture with the food bank. I started with the food bank about a year and a couple months ago, and it's really focused on how we build inclusion internally within the organization and building an inclusion mindset so that everyone can fulfill their purpose within the organization, but also there's a focus on external equity as well. How are we engaging the community, understanding the community and the needs that are out there, and really being an advocate for those that do not have access to food and finding ways to advocate for them.
Yeah, it's a core to what we do here at the food bank, but also I always joke that at the food bank we have these acronyms, right? There's a million. We have a whole thesaurus of food bank acronyms. EDI is one that you probably hear outside of the food bank as well when we hear equity, diversity, and inclusion. But there's so much more to it. So when we talk about equity, what does that mean, especially when it comes to the folks that we serve and our purpose here when it comes to equity?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because that's a very important aspect to this work. Prior to equity, diversity, inclusion, it was just diversity, inclusion, but equity brings a sense of purpose of understanding that not everybody starts off at the same place in life, has the same access to realize their needs, whether it's in the organization, whether it's fulfilling their needs in the organization, being able to navigate through their career. And understanding equity understands that we have to be purposeful about how we're providing those opportunities for everyone across the board, and it's not an equal playing field. So an analogy would be if I were to give everyone in the organization a pair of shoes, to wear, but I'm giving everyone the same size, right? And so everyone needs shoes in order to do their work, but everyone has the same size. So not everybody's going to be able to fit in those pair of shoes. So equity is about being purposeful again, right? It's about giving them the size they need, the comfort they need, so that they can adequately use the shoes to do their work.
And so that's different than diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, diversity and inclusion. So diversity is really about who is present, like who is in the workplace. And when you're talking about diversity, everyone comes from a different background, have different perspectives, and sometimes we share those perspectives or backgrounds, but not all the time. And diversity is based on the characteristics we're born with, the decisions we've made, the experiences we have. So when you're looking in the workplace and you're looking around at diversity, what perspectives aren't available in the workplace? What perspectives are we not hearing from? Inclusion is really about bringing everyone into the workplace and making them feel valued and respected and heard based on their own unique background and experiences. If they have a different perspective, is that perspective sought out? Are they heard? Are they supported based on that perspective, so that they can again feel as though they're included in the conversation, not only present but heard and supported?
Yeah. So tell me a little bit. I know that some people throw out the blanket term, we'll just respect everyone, right? But we're really purposeful in the way we approach that respect, and we use these terms intentionally. So tell me, why is diversity and inclusion so important to food bank conversations and our environment? Yeah,
it's important because, again, you have to recognize and be aware of different people's experiences, how they're showing up at work, right? And if we're not aware of that, they're coming with different experiences that impact them. If it's not daily, monthly, or yearly, it's still something that they do experience. And if they're experiencing a feeling of not heard or respected, or inequalities, or feeling any type of discriminatory practice around them, or feeling as though that their skin color does impact their experiences day to day. That's important to understand, because that's how they're showing up at work, right? And if we don't have this conversation, those are experiences that not a lot of times people that experience that don't express it, don't share, because the fear of backlash if they do share why they feel as though they're mistreated, day to day or monthly, or what those experiences are. So it's important as an organization to bring awareness, bring conversation, again, that not everybody has the same experiences. It goes back to that equity. Not everybody has the same access because of some of those experiences that impact the way they show up. So it is important.
And I'm so grateful that we have you on staff, because we have a big staff here at the food bank. There's a lot of people, and we serve so many people, right? I mean, just when we talk about our service area, it's 11 counties. So there's so many people that are touched just within our building, and then outside of our building, the people that we reach to. And I know that this is something that you are very passionate about. It's your area of expertise. So what really compelled you to do this work and to get involved at the food bank?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, because it is a journey. I started off in human resources, and I started off as a recruiter, and I was going to job fairs, all across the country, and looking at primarily diversity type of job fairs and activities that I can bring more diverse candidates to in front of hiring managers. And no matter what city I went to, I saw the same story. I was talking with job seekers, and they're, from different backgrounds and perspectives, namely African Americans. And a lot of them were just desperate for an opportunity. Just give me an opportunity to work, and I'll do the job. But there was a mismatch between the ability to get them from that job fair in front of the hiring managers, and I realized a lot of the issue wasn't them. They were prepared, they were ready to do the work, they had the qualifications, but it was really the hiring managers and getting through some bias, and getting through not just looking at face value, but also looking at what qualities these individuals bring to the plate. And I started realizing, okay, we got to do a lot of training for leaders. We got to do a lot of training within the culture. And even if we brought them into the environment, the work environment, got them hired on, there was an additional challenge of keeping them within the organization because of the culture. Did the culture match what their expectations were in the workplace? So that's really what got me into doing this work, is understanding there is a business value to increase diversity. In order to do that, you have to decrease bias, increase opportunities, look at equity, be purposeful about how you are incorporating that diversity, keeping them, maximizing and optimizing that talent within the workplace. And it's an ongoing work. It's nothing that's cut and dry, where you brought the talent in and you're ready to become the best in class. It's more about cultivating that environment over and over again, because one thing that happens is that the more diversity you have within an organization, the more tension you're going to have, because there's different backgrounds, perspectives, and meetings. And that's another aspect where, okay, now we have to cultivate how to have those courageous or respectful conversations in a workplace.
Obviously, that experience probably highlighted a lot of problems in our culture of 2022. Tell me how you took that experience and are using it to make the food bank a different place to work, a model place to work for not just our organization, but other organizations, other corporations in this area.
Yeah, so a large part of that is bringing the conversation to the food bank, ensuring that we're continuously diving into difficult conversations, understanding different perspectives and backgrounds that identify who we are individually in the organization. So we have cultural heritage months that we particularly focus on and ensure that we're understanding the different cultures and backgrounds. We're talking about their experiences, not only internally, but then also in the community. When we look at, what are the barriers to access to food? Why is there so much food insecurity for certain demographics? This is an important conversation to learn and build your awareness. So we're having those courageous conversations at the food bank. Right now we're in October. We're September 15th through October 15th is Hispanic Heritage Month. So we're taking an opportunity to bring in an educator, someone to create that dialogue for us, and we do that for most of our cultural heritage months. But then we also want to bring in employee resource groups, and employee resource groups, what they are employee-led, employee-driven groups of employees who share a common background, a diversity characteristic or background, where one, they can feel is they can come together, share a common interest, share experiences, have that commonality where they're actually able to express some of their experiences in a controlled environment,
in a safe place, and you're giving everybody a platform to have these conversations. It's not just saying we want to have these conversations. We're intentional about creating a space for that where people feel safe.
Absolutely, and the groups are really to align with the organization, align with our strategies, our workplace, and our community. From a workforce perspective, they can focus on how are we attracting that diverse talent, that shared common diversity variable. How are we attracting that diverse talent to the organization? How are we optimizing that talent? How are we developing that talent for them to thrive? From a workforce perspective, it's that culture of inclusion. How are we ensuring that we're removing barriers for individuals to feel their full potential within the workplace, and then within the community, how are we not only internally building an equitable work environment for them, where we're being purposeful about getting the resources that people need, but also externally in the community, are we having those conversations and to understand what the true need is, to connect and understand where the barriers are to food insecurity, and so forth. So these employee resource groups are going to be very vital, very intricate part of how we build that equitable environment, not only internally but externally for the food bank.
I'm going to ask a pretty bold question too, but I know when it comes to EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion, some people may not even know where they're at. Am I doing well? Do I need some growth? How do you do that temperature check? Are there questions that we can ask ourselves, or kind of a place to figure out where we are, so then we can figure out where we want to be? Because ally is the goal, right?
Right.
To be an ally, that is the goal. So how do you get there? How do you assess where you are?
Yeah. So it is a journey, right? So it's perfectly understood when you're asking those questions. That's mainly the first thing. If you're asking that question, you're starting off in a great place, because it starts off, if you're not asking that question, then you may be participating in some of the situations that are creating barriers for the bias that comes into play, the microaggressions or micro messaging that sometimes plays out and makes people feel as though they don't have an opportunity in the organization, or they're not heard. So sometimes if we're not asking that question, sometimes we feel as though we're participating in that. But when you start asking those questions, you start becoming aware that people have different experiences, and that's what these cultural heritage months and these conversations come, because understanding that if you have those different experiences, let me ask, what were some of those experiences? If I can get a better understanding, then I know how to better interact and support you as a colleague, and go from just participating and not acting or not stopping those biases from taking place, to recognizing those biases when they come into play and taking action, saying this is not what our values at the food bank are, and let's educate ourselves. Let's step back and educate on why what was said or what was done impacts people with certain experiences. But so when you have those conversations, you're starting to educate others, and you're starting to build that environment where, okay, we need to all think about what behaviors, actions, or things that are taking place. And then you start becoming in a point where you are giving those individuals the voice, giving them a platform to speak up. Not speaking for them, but speaking up. And then when you get to that point, and now that's how you become that ally for individuals that are experiencing those things. Because again, the very early part of that journey is those individuals not feeling as though they can speak up for themselves, because if they do, they're a lot of times felt as though that they're it's a kind of more of a lash out or defensive mechanism, whereas though that if we're giving them that opportunity to speak up, it's because we want to learn. We want to understand how to be a better colleague, how to be a better food bank, how to be a better community partner. And it's important for any of us to go through that journey and ask the question, where can I start? How can I learn? Putting yourself in situations where you're around others and learning from others is a great thing. A lot of times we tend to stick with our own. We if you think about, if you leave the food bank, who are the first interactions you have is probably people that look similar to you. But if you think about, okay, if you make a purposeful expectation to put yourself or surround yourself by others by just engaging in different organizations, different groups, community types of programs, you're starting to educate yourself.
Yeah.
You're starting to learn a little bit more. So, and that's the journey that's the journey I'm trying to bring us all into the food bank, but with some of the activities that we have going on here, just surrounding yourself, having the conversation from others and learning from each other. It's for everyone, and that everyone can thrive.
I love it. Where do we start? You ask, where do I start?
Right. Exactly.
It makes so much sense. Godfrey, we're just about out of time, but we have some more things coming up at the food bank, right? That people can get involved in, or if your ears perked up and said, I just did that temperature check, what do I do next? We have things coming up. Yeah,
we have. We're going to have an inclusive leadership training coming in the next couple months here. I think that's going to be great, because we're really going to look through from a leadership perspective that everyone's a leader, no matter what what level of the organization you are. How to have that inclusive mindset, right? How to hold each other accountable. So that's one thing that's going to take place. I'm going to do a town hall. There's going to be a town hall from the EDI, and just an opportunity to go through all of the activities that we have going on, and more in detail, and allow the staff to ask questions. What is that? How does that impact me? But then also, and most importantly, with our strategic priorities that we'll set for the next 3 years, is really going to focus on race and place, as far as, what commitments are we going to make as an organization to impact the communities. So we're really going to focus on Black and rural populations, and we're going to have to unpack that. We're going to figure out what that looks like.
There are so many layers, aren't there?
Absolutely. And those commitments are focused on access. Who has access, which areas in our community are feeling the food insecurity. What are the root causes? There's several root causes that impact that. So there's going to be a lot that comes in to that commitment, and excited to go through that journey with the food bank, and I think we're ready for it.
We're excited too. Food for thought. There we have it.
Absolutely.
Godfrey, it was such a joy. Thank you so much for sitting down with us and teaching us more about EDI here at Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank.